Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Monsterarts, I almost said Figure Arts, which is not the same thing, Godzilla from -1, which is one of the best Godzilla movies ever, and it's one of the best designs for Godzilla ever, if you ask me. And since you're watching my video, I'm going to assume you're essentially asking me. Now this is, like I said, it's a Monsterarts figure, so it comes at a pretty hefty price point, so this review may seem a little harsh to some people, but I'm gonna talk about all of it. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. Alright, now before we look at the figure, I do want to show you my package, and it's a good package. It's very white. It looks like I'm washing it out. That's just the way it looks. It's a very, very bright package. No real window. Like, there's a little bit of a window here, and a little bit of a window here, but not really. So, if you're an inbox collector, don't expect to really be seeing the figure that you're buying at all, other than this photo, because this photo is better than this window. You can't really see much, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, otherwise it's a standard high-quality package from Bandai, but, you know, not good for displaying. Now, as far as the figure goes, well, I don't know. Let's see. He stands roughly, we'll say 7 inches. That's a little bit generous. If you're counting the spikes, it's probably fair. That's going to be about 18 centimeters. Here he is. Oops. Here he is up against Darwin. I don't know why his head's not on. I swear, every time I pick this guy up, there's something different going on that I have nothing to do with. Alright, so there he is up against Darwin. Okay, so Darwin's basically the same height. If you count the spikes, Godzilla's a little bit taller, so there's that. Now, I will say, I'll put a link in the description below if you want to get this guy. I'll put a link down there, but I don't know that it's worth doing, because this guy comes in at like 100 and, I don't know, 30, something like that, at Big Bad Toy Store, so that's pretty hefty. And I know there's basically a duel going on between Monsterarts and Hiya Toys. Hiya Toys come in way cheaper, they're usually a little bit bigger and slightly less articulated. So we're going to see, is this guy articulated enough to justify that price point? We'll get to that, but let's go ahead and talk about the aesthetic first. I have to say, the sculpt is really nice. He is cut up quite a lot, but the sculpt carries it pretty well. I mean, Godzilla lends himself to being chopped up because of all the scales and whatnot, so it works pretty well. He looks decent, for sure. Even in here where they cut up his belly a lot, it looks pretty good. Like, he's definitely a good sculpt. It's nice and sharp. These things are super sharp, very nicely detailed, and it looks nice. And then if you zoom in on his face, it's a really, really clean sculpt. I have to say, I'm very pleased with it. He looks good. I will say, and I'm assuming they got it right, I don't remember him having quite that profile. The front looks nice, sculpt-wise, but the profile looks a little bit off to me, and I could just be remembering incorrectly. It's been a little while now. So the sculpt is good, I'll say the sculpt is good, but the paint, as you can see, is jacked up. Very jacked up. His face looks ridiculous because they just went meh with the paint on there, and that's not what it's supposed to look like. In fact, his paint job overall is really, really unimpressive. I haven't reviewed a Monsterarts Godzilla in a while, so I was thinking it was going to be a lot nicer than the Hiya offerings, and their Godzillas have way better paint job than this. It's just basically dry brushing, but it's really just one color over one color of plastic, so it looks super basic, there's no depth to it, and it's really, really not well placed. As you see on his face, it does not look good. It's missing in large areas, and I guess that they tried to do that to give him some color variation, but do that with colors. Don't just have bare plastic. I mean, there might be paint on top of the plastic, but it's just flat one color. It's really unfinished looking, and his face being messed up like that sucks big time. Now, I will give him credit. The eyes and mouth look very nice compared to what we see some other times, but I guess not really that much better. Like, I guess it's better than Hiya. But is it? I don't know. That paint job on the face just ruins it. So aesthetically, like, the sculpt is definitely good, but the paint job really under-delivers for this price point. It's crazy bad. So aesthetically, I'm going to give this guy a 6 out of 10. Like, yeah, you could repaint it and it'll look good, but it's not anywhere near good enough. And he comes with 0 accessories, so no hands, no heads, no blasts, no nothing. Nothing. For this price point is kind of a shocker. It's really not good. Okay, so now I know Hiya hasn't released this guy yet, this particular version of Lizard, but I will be reviewing it whenever it comes out, so we'll be able to do a comparison, at least through different videos. I don't know if I'll have this guy around. Honestly, I'm not thrilled with it, so I may not keep it, but we'll see. Okay, so as far as articulation goes, he is cut up a lot, but does he pose really well? We'll start with the tail. Lots of segments. It's not bad. It's lots of balls, and they do work, but do they work in a way that's super useful? I don't know. This falls off constantly. I've had his leg fall off. I've had his tail fall off, and something... Ow! It actually just punctured my skin, this one right here. Ow. Lots of parts. I don't remember which other part. At least 3 different segments have fallen off. So you can kind of get him in a swimming pose with his tail, but you'll see his head doesn't really cooperate. So his tail works well enough, but considering how broken up he is, I don't think it does actually work well enough. I think it's too limited, especially as you get down to the skinnier portion. Oh my gosh. It's really annoying. It does not pose that well. It's fine, but for the price point, I don't think it is actually fine. Like, you're not getting what you paid for. It'll do well enough. Oh, also there's that. Why, Bandai, did you think that was a good idea? Crazy. Now for the legs, it's a double ball peg. It lets the leg move around pretty well. There's not much need to do that because you don't get much range down here, but at the hip, it does move nicely. I'll give that to him. It's all right. For the knee, it's your usual Monsterarts type articulation. A lot of ball pegs, not a lot of range, but probably enough. He's okay. He's not going to be doing any kung fu poses or anything super dramatic, so don't expect that. Each toe is articulated, of the 3 main toes, so that's pretty cool. That'll help for posing, but he's not doing much. And I guess my point is that's fine for Godzilla. I didn't expect him to be doing much, but they cut him up a lot and charge a whole lot for not doing much. That's really the problem I'm having. If he's not going to do much, then don't cut him up and don't charge as much. Now, you get a separation here and here for his torso. Again, he's not doing much. It does move, and it looks fine doing it, but... Oh my gosh. I'm so tired of this thing falling apart. Every time I'm handling it, something else pops off. Like, why does that need to be a separate piece, honestly? I'm so sick of this thing, it's driving me insane. This doesn't need... Look, it's so thin. How much of a gap is that covering? Just don't do that. Don't make it all one piece. Don't make it a separate piece. There's no need for it. Especially since it doesn't freaking do anything anyway. I'm not going to be able to get this guy back together. And get him to stay back together. I don't know. Maybe it'll stay. This joint right here under his tatties, that actually works fairly well for a Godzilla. I mean, I know the spikes get in the way. Don't get me wrong, I understand Godzillas don't pose well generally because of all the spikes and whatnot. But they should be charged. You should be charged accordingly. I just realized one of his fins was bent. I wonder if that bent from me. Well, it's okay now, at least. Yeah, it just doesn't pose very well. Like, there's as much range as you could get out of it, I guess. But for the price point, I think they should have worked in more. And if you disagree with me, that's okay. But that's how I feel, and this is my review. So we have segments in here. Again, lots of segments, but not much to do with them. It's just okay. And I wouldn't be complaining about any of this if he was $50, but at over 100, well over 100, it's just not enough. His head, it doesn't look up any more than that. And his mouth, it doesn't open any more than that. Which is not like, it's not terrible, but it's not impressive. The tongue moves. And that's it. Oh, his arms. He does have arms. I forgot. They're very limited. The shoulders are not bad. I guess the shoulders are okay. You get a joint here underneath the shoulder. So essentially a bicep swivel. And then you get some more balls down here. It's very limited. Oh my gosh. Everything falls off of this thing. And then his wrist is on a ball peg. The wrists are okay. So yeah, for a Godzilla, it poses okay. It's not impressive. He can't look up, and things fall off constantly, but it poses okay for a Godzilla. Don't get me wrong. It poses okay. But he's charged or he's priced like he poses better than you would expect. And it might even be a little bit worse than you expect. Plus, it falls apart constantly. So I'm really irritated by this figure. It's one of those things that's really unpleasant to handle. And I don't like figures that are really unpleasant to handle. Even when it's just Big Lizard that shouldn't pose very well, it's super frustrating. So his articulation at this price point is going to get a 5 out of 10. If it was a reasonable price point, I'd say 7. It's Godzilla, whatever, who cares? But you don't get that. You don't get that leeway when you're charging like it's gonna be impressive. So, final thoughts on this guy. The final verdict is it's way overpriced for what you get. The paint job is lousy. It's so juvenile, rudimentary, not good enough. Especially where the face is screwed up. No accessories, and the articulation is by no means impressive. And it's barely acceptable because it falls apart constantly. So I'm going to say right now, and of course we don't know for sure, but I'm going to say right now, there's no way this one's worth getting over the Hiya Toys version when it comes out. Whatever faults that thing has, it's going to be worth having over this one because it's going to be, what, a third the price? Half even? Even at half, it would be worth it. This is just not anywhere near worth the value, or worth the price. There's not enough value. That's my take on it. I wanted to love it. I'm tempted to repaint it, but the fact that it falls apart constantly makes me think, no, screw that. I'm not going to bother. So I'm curious what you guys think, but for me, it's a no-go. Big time no-go. I'm going to give it an overall rating of 5 out of 10. It's just passable, really. Like, not even passable in terms of, like, if it was a 50% score, you would be failing. But it's not like there is some redeeming quality to it, but not much. Not much at all. I'm curious what you guys think. But that's it for me. It's just a no-go. It's not anywhere near worth the price point. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos just about every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.